Okay, and we're live. Roy, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. It feels like we've just did this recently, but that was a stock draft and, of course, our Fiesta Friday. A lot of news today. A lot of it's kind of spread throughout bits hitting the AI trade. That's kind of what we're focused on in the market. Has made some pretty big announcements and moves today. But first, Tevis, how are you?
Doing well. Yeah, glad to see the market's doing well today. Did you see the news after hours with Nvidia and Nebius?
No.
It's not really breaking news. Nvidia filed a 13F showing they have 9.3% ownership in Nebius.
Oh, yeah.
But like that,
Yeah, I
we
didn't know
knew that
that.
since March.
Yeah. Like, we didn't know the exact percent, but I mean, we knew it was about that. So, yeah. Nvidia basically is becoming an AI ETF, stablecoin as well. So, all right, we're going to kick things off here with some of the news that were topics. We're going to talk about Iren, of course, Iran as well. Two different topics that sound very similar. A lot of deals that are relating to the AI world. Some Kimi 3 news that I thought was really interesting. ServiceNow has earnings coming up, so Tevis, you might want to mention that as well. And as always, we'll have question and answers. And so if it's related to topics as we're going through, we'll try to hit those as we are processing. But if not, we'll hit those perhaps on the other side. Tevis, where do you want to start? With Spain?
Yeah, I mean, yes, they won on Sunday, and yeah, we got another star on the jersey.
Yeah.
Why is Tev's wearing a Miami Heat jersey? Yeah, Roy has to wear his jersey, man. Well, when the Heat win the championship, Roy will put his on. How about that?
I mean, like they had an epic trade the other day. So yeah, Yanni is now a member of the Miami Heat. So
Is he
we'll
actually?
we'll have to see. But yeah, I don't know. They were pretty good last year, so we'll see what happens. It's going to be very different. But yeah, I don't. I'm not like a huge Heat fan. I like them, but it's more about the Robin Hood patch. Sorry, guys, my lighting setup's being funky. All right, so beyond that, let's go ahead and look into some of this news here. There is a lot actually going on with Kimi, and so let's maybe start there because that's one of those topics. So and all this like happened over the weekend. It was kind of incredible. There's also some Oracle stuff that I wanted to talk to you about. So Microsoft planned to test China's Kimi 3 for Copilot as it adds open weight model to Azure. Engineers will evaluate whether K3 can power features currently using OpenAI and Anthropic models. And so, yeah, just a lot of people, a lot of organizations are using this. I did see, although I didn't see what the actual backing of this was, that there was a report out there that open source is being used in enterprises more than the frontier models, more than Claude, more than OpenAI's ChatGPT as well. So, but that's not the only piece of Kimi news. Let me. Sorry, these are not very well organized. Nope, that's Oracle. Maybe I should have closed my. It's got to be one of these here. Here we go. Okay, this came out over the weekend, and I thought this was fascinating. You and I both reposted this, but this is from Kimi specifically. They're using Moonshot, or they are Moonshot. They're associated with that, and they basically are like, "Hey, we are slammed beyond capacity. We need to actually go out and increase this tremendously."
Yeah.
And so they talked about doing this as well. You know, with the traction that they've received, it's no great surprise. And then related to this was this by Databricks as well. They said, we host open source models such as Kimi and offer them to our customers. Demand has been so strong that we're running out of GPUs across multiple regions. We nearly exhausted our GPU capacity in Asia, and demand is rising in countries including Japan, South Korea, and the United States and India. We therefore need to acquire a large number of additional GPUs, which requires significant funding. Of course, that's a Series M funding. I think it was M. It's we're going to run out of letters, and I don't know what happens after that with Databricks. But yeah, it like a lot of people still are under this assumption. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, certainly when we talk when we do our data center monthly with Nate. But they think open source is somehow free and it doesn't cost inference, and the reality is actually the opposite. So with this Kimi news, what is your take on this, Tevis? Because one thing that somebody threw out there, which I hadn't considered before, is Kimi, of course, is an open source model, and most of the open source models that are doing really well, GLW, of course, DeepSeek from a while ago, Kimi here today, and there's a lot of others as well, are Chinese models, Quinn, and they are optimized oftentimes to run basically on Alibaba's data centers. And so they said, hey, this might not be bearish necessarily like for everything, but your data center plays, which are not in China, are just, they're going to go to zero. That's your argument. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so the way that I see this piece of news was similar to how we interpreted DeepSeek last year or 2 years ago, whenever that was. Basically, the market spent all of last week selling off Nebius and CoreWeave for a couple of reasons, but partially due to the Kimi 3 rationale that supposedly proved to everybody that we need less compute, right? It's efficient, and as a result, we don't need as much compute, and as a result, we're going to sell off data centers. What we realized as early as a weekend in was not only is Kimi pausing their subscriptions because they're compute constrained, but also that the entire industry is compute constrained. They're buying every single GPU that they could possibly get their hands on, and they're overpaying to do it. Databricks is raising money just so that they can buy GPUs. And so what we realize is a reinforcement of the bull case that cheaper intelligence doesn't reduce compute demand, it unlocks more of it. And this is sort of like Jevons paradox at work, right? Every efficiency gain that we have gets eaten up by additional usage. It's getting increasingly more expensive to have complex tasks on AI as AI efficiency increases. And as the capabilities increase, we're going to need more compute. And the bottleneck fundamentally is still GPUs, and selling GPU capacity is the entire business model of Nebius and CoreWeave, right? And so fundamentally, you would expect both of them to be trading higher on the back of this news. And it seems as though, like I said last week, the market has a little bit of jitters and it's taking some profits off the table, which is fine. But the important part here, Roy, is that the fundamental thesis is still intact and we're climbing a wall of worry. And the direction, in my opinion, is still up and to the right. Whether it's going to be tomorrow or next week, I don't know. But over the next quarter or the next year, I'm very confident that.
What profits off the table are they taking on CoreWeave? Because I'm confused. Help me. No, I'm just kidding. It's crazy.
Off, I would say.
Yeah, this morning, it was rallying along with the other names and everything was just fine. And then for whatever reason, like a lot of names did this. So it's not just CoreWeave, but in the data center space specifically, like APLD was up pretty big. Nebius was up nicely. Iren, we're going to talk about that news in just a second, up massively. Hut 8 as well had some big news that we'll mention here. But CoreWeave finished basically flat. It was down just slightly. And, looking at like versus Oracle was also down. But there's some very credible reasons. Like there's actual news that came out related to Oracle that brought that down. Like I don't know. We'll talk more about it tomorrow, but it seems really weird that the market is treating CoreWeave this way just because of the debt and this misunderstanding of how this works. Like, is it just the debt? Like the market's like, hey, if you have any debt at all, we're just going to sell you off relentlessly no matter what. It's curious that they didn't do the same for Nebius, who raised some debt. It's not much debt. You're topping more into the equity market instead.
Yeah, look, I would say that even Iren was very oversold. And sentiment can change very quickly, right? Because Iren... Let me throw up this post actually, because I want to get your thoughts on this post, and I kind of found it interesting. So after the news today, which we can talk about, Tech Investor here shows the cash relative to the market cap of these three names. CoreWeave, 3 billion relative to 40 billion market cap. Nebius has 9.3 billion relative to 45. And then CoreWeave had 7.6 billion relative to 14.2 billion market cap. So like 60% of the entire market cap almost was cash and cash equivalents. And so when you're trading at that cheaply, like Iren was arguably way cheaper than CoreWeave ever was.
Well, I think that's
make a case, right?
I think that's probably the worst measure. Maybe not the worst. It's a terrible measure if you're trying to talk about which is trading the most cheaply. I think that looking at projected revenue, annual revenue, Even current run rates, like that's far better. Can't do price to earnings yet because they're not profitable. The one thing
No,
that
no,
this
no, no, no,
is
no,
good
no.
for,
Well,
though,
let me push
the,
back. Just before that, it's not the worst. It's the worst measure when you're thinking offensive. It's a pretty safe measure when you're thinking defensive because you can't go bankrupt if you have 60% of your market cap in cash. You have a lot of buffer room there. Now, it's the worst measure offensive because you want to be spending all that cash to build faster to capture addressable market.
yeah. So I read this really differently. I don't think it should be a like, hey, this is cheaper or more attractive. Like it does provide some floor, but even still, when you have a certain burn rate that's like known and understood, the market is going to discount that cash. Now, obviously, if these were like pre-revenue cash burning, it would be more meaningful because it's going to tell you about the cash runway. They're building all of these so aggressively as far as capex. It's not useful for that, but what it is useful for is basically how much these individual companies need to raise near term to be able to fund future buildouts. And for CoreWeave, they need to raise fairly soon. Of course, it's going to tap into the debt market again. They're not going to sell their stock certainly down here. Nebius looks like that they need to raise more. We know that they have probably enough to get through early next year, and I'm sure they'll talk about it in the earnings call. Iren is good for a while, and so that is like the biggest read on there is like if the markets are very jittery about capital raises, and they are, and CoreWeave is likely to raise at some point in the near future, which the market I'm sure will hate. And I mean, maybe we'll go to like $30 a share, in which case we'll just only own CoreWeave because it's already stupidly cheap right now. At that point, it's like, why own anything else? I guess it's going to zero. First company that has this massive amount of cells, EPS looking at over $3 per share in 2028. It'll go to zero. Probably not. No, but no, like the capex thing I think is the best read on that. So since we're in that mode and mentality, like that's one thing where it does help provide, I think, more of a floor than just saying, hey, this is worth this much cash if they liquidated everything down. We don't know that either. Like that's the other thing too. Like that number, we're so far away from earnings, about as far as you can be. That's going to move around a lot too. So, related to Iren, let's go ahead and share this.
I feel
Maybe
like
I'll just
we shouldn't dive too deep in neoclouds, man. We won't have a topic for tomorrow.
yeah, I'll just mention these real quick. So, so Intel is announcing some layoffs related to their data center group, and I don't think we necessarily need to talk about that too much. Iren, of course, the reason why it's up massively, they sound a new deal, and it's not with the Golden State Warriors. So this one's a much better one. They're actually making money off of this. Annual run rate is now up to $4 billion. 2.8 billion multi-year, so it's not like the most massive, but it's not small either. That's 480 megawatt capacity delivered this year, so a very good development. The stock deserves to be up. It's doing very good. And related to this as well, Hut 8, again another former Bitcoin miner, signed a second 15-year deal. This one 9.8 billion AI data center lease. So very good news for Hut 8 as well. It's up a lot on the year, which is maybe the reason why it didn't rally. I thought it did. Maybe this is incorrect. X has been a little bit funny with, that's a perplexity thing. So yeah, I think it's up. But yeah, regardless. And then the big one here, well, not big one, but related to Nebius. I think we'll hit the Iren one maybe a little bit more in Data Center Weekly. Nebius's price target was raised massively from 248 to 410. CoreWeave had another similar raised by an analyst. They went into a lot of detail on the margins, and people are like, hey, the margins are terrible. Yeah, when you're early in your revenue ramp, that's what happens. Look at any other company when they're ramping. As long as the revenue does ramp, that's not really a concern. You can look at like Palantir, for instance. The margins, gross margins are always good, but the actual net margins, it's different.
Yeah,
All right.
Had another raise today from Freedom Capital Markets from 159 to 200 from a hold to a buy rating. So 2 today.
Yeah. But I know that we'll talk probably more about these during Data Center Monthly. Do you want to talk about any of these right now or just save that for tomorrow?
We can save it for tomorrow. I overall am not looking at the minutia. Like there is a fire hose of news that comes out that's AI related on any given day. and you can drown in the amount of news. And it's honestly very volatile because all the news is so emotional. But if you zoom out and if you look at the overall trend, I think the trend is going to be up and to the right because nothing has structurally changed. You're still getting deals. They're not going to happen overnight. You're not going to have, you're not going to sign Meta one week and then sign Microsoft the next week and then sign Google the third week. It's just not going to happen like that. Right now, you see a lot of these data centers that are selling capacity for next year, not for next quarter, next year. And so, like you just have to have the patience to withhold and the stomach to withhold through the volatility. And I think the people that have throughout the beginning of this year until now have been rewarded. And if not, you get a good opportunity to double down because the trend is still intact. And I think that's the sentiment that I keep coming back to ground me in my position because otherwise there's so much noise out there on any given day.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I do see a donation, and so thank you for that. Abby Jagani, I'm so sorry if I mispronounce it. He said, thoughts on Qualcomm. It's one that I don't really know it enough to like go into like great detail, but it's one of those that's always like Amazon. I would say just maybe a little bit lower tier for me, where I'm like, hey, it's a good stable company. They have a lot of levers, some near-term growth levers, and a more durable moat than many people have given credit for. I don't think the stock has gone. Let me pull it up here. I think it's been flat over the last year. It's up like 7%. So yeah, almost flat over the last year. It's flat year to date, down just slightly. Yeah, like what I know about it is it's like seems like it's a good stable company. I think that there's more. There's companies that are primed to grow better, but I've not studied Qualcomm like as far as recent developments here in a little while. So just being honest with what I know. Do you have any thoughts on Qualcomm?
No thoughts on Qualcomm.
Yeah, well,
Not
to kind of tell you like what or how we feel about it too. Like we had the stock draft, and there was a lot of names taken on. There's a lot that we couldn't take, and we get asked, I think, more probably about those than anywhere. But Qualcomm, as far as I know, wasn't on anyone's radar. Nobody ended up picking it. Yeah, if you guys missed it, this right here, I'll show certified AI developer. One of the guys on my channel ended up building us a site. And so you can see it up here. I don't think he minds anybody.
Yeah, this is
I'll
great.
put the link in the description here. But yeah, it goes through and you can see if we finish today, I guess I lose again. Oh no. Manuel was, I guess the after hours move ended up messing with me, but he was lower briefly. But yeah, I'm off to another roaring start. But Nate is up massively. Again, if the AI trade is fully intact, Nate probably will win this. Like if it does again, what happened this year. Tevis, of course, had a very nice portfolio as well. All these guys did. So, and it goes through and looks at the weighting impact from all our portfolio. There are the names that we had to pick short, but yeah, we looked through and let's see how mine are doing. Yeah, a lot of very small moves actually today, other than AMPG. The one microcap that I selected, Air was down a little bit higher today, but in Oracle, of course, got beaten up, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. So, yeah, a roaring start. But yeah, Qualcomm was one of those where it was. I mean, we could have picked any stock there, and I would just say it's a little bit deeper down on my list. So,
yeah, can't own them all.
Yeah, so let's then talk just a little bit of Oracle. I thought this was really interesting.
Sure.
So SimAnalysis came out with a post as we went into the weekend talking about a delay to Oracle Stargate, the largest part of the Stargate project, which is the Jupiter data center, specifically in New Mexico. And it's been behind as well. They talked about a risk of a 1 to 2 year delay. And sure enough, that's exactly what came out today. Bloom Energy, tied to that project as well, is taking a hit as well as Oracle did, simply because of being rejected again for the gas pipeline permit. And so they don't want to run off of just Bloom Energy's products like forever. But this does delay the campus, like SimAnalysis had mentioned. Could be a 1 to 2 year delay. Is that going to sink Oracle? No. I mean, it's not a good thing. When you have debt on your balance sheet, you're paying against it all the time versus the other models. If you're diluting, the nice thing is you don't have to repay. And so the timing doesn't necessarily matter quite as much for you. But even though this is the largest, it's not good news for Oracle. It's not really going to sink them either. So, we'll see these kind of delays. And I'm actually kind of curious if NIMBYism, where people are concerned and they have moratoriums in localities, we saw the statewide one with New York, if that ends up shifting a little bit and they find that the better line of attack is simply something like this, where they're like, hey, let's try to prevent any sort of permitting that we can, even if there is no moratorium.
Yeah, I think regulation is always going to be the enemy of speed, right? You're always going to have regulation sort of pushing back on innovation. That's just a forcing function. And this is why government is traditionally so slow. It's going to be a case by case basis, but every time you have regulation hurting one company, like in this case, Oracle, it's going to be a shot across the bow for all of these companies because it could be Nebius next or CoreWeave next or any of these, right? And those types of ideas cascade, right? You're having moratoriums that are being pushed across the US for data centers, and we talked about that last week. But overarchingly, I don't think it's constructive, and I don't think it's conducive to a fast growing environment that AI is really embodied by, right? AI is the fastest paradigm shift in our lifetime. And meanwhile, we're trying to hold it back with regulation. I don't think it's going to work because you have these companies have infinite jurisdiction across the entire globe, and they can choose to build wherever the incentives are the best for them. But it's just not good from a sentiment perspective across the board.
Yeah. No, it's any thought on like how long that's going to persist? I know we've talked about that a few times, but has anything shifted in your mind, and when do you think that overhang might subside?
Unfortunately, I think it's very politicized. I think people will use regulation to push a certain, ideology or certain political stance. And I'm not sure. I mean, we have midterms coming up here. I think it can get worse before it gets better, depending on how these results go, right?
Yeah. So do you think with the midterms, like we might see things heat up and it actually become even more politicized into that? And then afterwards, do you think that's going to fall off a cliff, or what is your expectations? Mine, I'll just tell you, I've been a little bit surprised that, at least for the politics that I've been paying attention to, I've not seen it mentioned that often yet. Some at the local level, but I would not be surprised to see that change and it become one of those major political issues that we see leading into the November election. And if that's the case, I do think that it'll probably lose some steam in November. But the hard thing is, like, it's not all like Republicans are for data centers and all Democrats are against, but it does seem to be skewed that direction. And if we see a massive blue wave with the Senate and the House, then they might feel like they have a mandate from the people to do something about this on a national level. Now, I'm hopeful that plays out more at a local level. There should not be any even question or thought of a moratorium nationwide. Let localities determine that themselves. But yeah, that's my expectations there.
I'll take the other side of that argument. I think, unfortunately, with AI being a compounding factor on the wealth of all of these oligarchs around the world, it's going to become a focal point for political attacks. Yes, it is mostly on a local level that we're seeing it right now. Municipalities don't want data centers near to the residential areas, even though every real data point from water usage, I mean, energy is probably the only valid concern here because the grid is not able to support a lot of these data centers. But for many data points, it makes sense to be building these data centers because you can move faster from an innovation perspective. But unfortunately, Roy, I do think that it's going to become more and more politicized on a state level and maybe even on a federal level, because what we're seeing, many, how can I say this? Many vocal parties on the political spectrum push it. You're seeing the AOCs, the Bernie Sanders, the Elizabeth Warrens of the world who are saying, hold on, we need guardrails on these billionaires. And one way to do that is with data center regulation. That's just the latest, crusade, essentially, the latest witch hunt to push the same agenda that they've been pushing for the last 20 years. The part that they're missing, and that I hope that people see through, is that these people, as a byproduct of their wealth, have unlimited optionality in terms of where they can build. And these companies can choose to build in the US, they can choose to build in Europe, they can choose to build in Asia, or anywhere else in the world that favors them. It's always been this way, with or without AI. AI is just the latest, thing that we're plugging into this equation because, like last time when we were talking about the Sophie Cunningham news, I brought up the Amazon offices, right? Where they were going to build in New York and then AOC pushed them away and they built elsewhere. That's always been the case, right? This is why it's increasingly difficult to tax these international software companies because they incorporate in Ireland. They have their IP incorporated in like the Cayman Islands, and like good luck taxing them because they're out of your jurisdiction. AI is the exact same thing. And it's practically impossible to actually stop them through regulation. All you're going to do is you're going to push away that innovation from your state or from your country. And unfortunately, it's more of a virtue signaling point than it is an actual practical point.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, there's a lot of truth that there are some concerns. We'll talk about those more tomorrow as well. But yeah, just interesting how much demand and focus is on this. Both sides of that is true. Beyond talking more about data centers, I thought this piece of news was really interesting as well, related to the AI trade and also Google. We see a lot of ASICs being developed and continue to be in development for different use cases. In this case, Google again is planning to launch a new frozen chip to run its AI models more efficiently. And it said that the server would directly integrate the blueprint of its Gemini AI model, which is something that's been talked about a bit. I think that this might be the first time a major LLM has actually been integrated directly into a server chip. But the chip would then enable Alphabet to provide its AI models to users much more efficiently. The understanding is basically that on device you can actually run some of these things as well. So that could be something that would be used potentially. I don't know that it's going to be used for like the Android phones itself, but they have a lot of different products out there, and they say that it would be 6 to 10 times more efficient than the most recent version of Google's existing line of AI chips. And so, yeah, another tech giant has entered the chip space. Honestly, they're already there with TPUs. But Tevis, your thoughts on this? Is this a meaningful shift? Is this concerning for me as a NVIDIA shareholder? Should I be like, oh man, NVIDIA to zero or anything like that?
I don't think you should be. I mean, if there is tangible innovation unlock to be had, they're all going to be pursuing it simultaneously. The playbook has always been go wide and then go deep to optimize after, right? You run at a loss, you offer it for free to the vast majority of people, the widest you can possibly cast your net, and then you try to optimize from there. And that's where monetization also comes in. How are we going to make money on this? And in this case, we've talked excessively about the compute constraints. I mean, every time I ask Claude to do something, I can basically take a 5-minute break until it actually responds to me. It's getting slower and it's getting dumber. And that's just the reality of where we are because there's more people that are using it for more intensive tasks. Efficiency is on the table. You can't be spending $200 billion of CapEx and not think about efficiency. You can't just go wide. You got to go deep as well. And so, I mean, some people will take this to mean, bearish things about the CapEx growth, reduction or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think this is a validation of that thesis, right? Because of course you want to be more efficient. Like I don't understand how you could argue against that point. I don't know if the frozen piece is the way to do it. I agree with the problem, not necessarily I agree with this as the solution.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of solutions out there. The most prominent right now is the open source models, which honestly, the rumors of their efficiency are true on the training side. And how much is distillation versus not? That's up for debate. It's hard to prove, but it seems like it's certainly a factor. But as far as the actual inference that it uses, it's usually overstated. And so there's going to be a lot of different solutions out there, which I think is great because if you attack the problem from multiple different angles, some of those might end up being dead ends and just not really not return the ROI, but others will absolutely succeed. And again, we've already talked about it as there's more and more efficiency that's driven here. There's more use cases, and it actually increases inference. It increases demand rather than the other direction. So it's nice to see United States companies and frontier models kind of focus on that, try to make their models more efficient and cheaper and affordable. But also at the same time, like you do want some super heavy duty models as well. And even with like Kimi, as much as people like that, at least my first experience with Kimi was what we had in the draft. You were using it, you were the driver, but that model was really, really underwhelming. And I'm sure it just goes back to we were trying to use a fast model, and we did change that, but it is certainly resource constrained, and that's not a good place to be. There's a lot more build out here that's needed.
I mean, look, I agree that it was underwhelming. I don't want to discount Kimi though, because it's night and day to compare a free model with a paid model on the quality of the response or even on the speed of the response, right? Like it's very lopsided where the compute gets allocated and it's to the highest bidder.
Absolutely. Related to the build out, this so I made a very short video, just some insights from our draft. And one of those things from our draft, and we'll get back to this piece in just a second, Micron was taken relatively late. I don't remember. I thought it was Nate that Nate got it on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th round. SK Hynix went a little bit after that, and Nate also picked SK Hynix to short, which is interesting to long Micron and short SK Hynix. But regardless, he did. That was later than I expected the memory names to go, and I figured one of you guys would grab it much higher. It's one of those things where it's we don't want to like read too much into that, but it's going to be one that's very volatile. And this piece of news came out through an analyst report. Sam posted it here, saying that Micron could generate more than $400 billion in free cash flow through 2028, and once its buyback restriction expires on December 9th, they could repurchase over 40% at the current price. That's actually insane. Do you think that we made a mistake by not taking Micron and maybe SK Hynix higher and took it that late?
I mean, I can only speak for myself. And for me, it's not that I didn't notice Micron. It was on the list. It's just that Micron has run up already a lot. And I didn't want to risk an early round buying something at the top or close to the top. I know it pulled back from 1200, back to whatever 850 or wherever it fell, but I thought there was other opportunities that hadn't had that crazy run up. So it's not necessarily like a quality question; it's more of a valuation question. But yeah, I think the numbers that came out today, tremendous.
Absolutely. All right. With that, that's all that I had to cover, other than what's happening in Hormuz in Iran. So a lot of movement related to that, a lot of announcements. Of course, Trump had a recent post as well where he was talking to the UK. We can see the way this is playing out in the energy markets. If you can throw this up real quick. Let me look at the last 5 days. TTF, which is natural gas in Europe, it continues to climb. If we look at oil, is probably more of a large driver here. Light crude futures is up really tremendously over the last 5 days, 3%. Over the last month, it's not too much. Brent, where's WTI? Let me just put in WTI here. So this United States oil specifically, WTI, it is up also. Ooh, that's an ugly view. Sorry, guys. And you can see just how it inflected, of course, since the Hormuz tensions had continued to heat up. Brent crude did something similar as well. Of course, we got inflation reads last week, which came in a lot cooler than expected. But this is one of those overhangs that certainly is not good. So if you had to pick, which happens first? Iren has another deal that they announce, or Iran has a peace deal that actually sticks?
Okay, define sticks.
It lasts through the end of the year.
Okay, let me think about this. How is there a limitation on how big the Iren deal has to be?
No. And the two are kind of unrelated. It's mostly a play on words. Iren and Iran.
I'll say the Iren one happens first.
Yeah, that Well, hopefully that happens soon then, because the longer this isn't resolved, well, the market thankfully is like largely shrugging it off. We did have some fade in a lot of names, and maybe it was tied to that news, and we just had the early Monday green pop that we like to enjoy in a bull market. But man, market's ready to move on. We just need this whatever the piece looks like to actually stick. But right now, over the weekend, certainly wasn't looking very good at all. All right, that's all I had here today. Was there anything that you wanted to share on your end, Tevis, as far as news? ServiceNow, that was it.
ServiceNow.
Yes.
We'll talk about ServiceNow, but before that, can I talk a little bit about SpaceX?
Yeah.
So SpaceX just confirmed earlier today, Roy, that it's going to be reporting its first earnings as a public company on Thursday, August 4th. So in about 2 weeks here. Of course, SpaceX broke under $120 a share. As we know, SpaceX IPO'd in June, early June, for 135, and then it went to 225, and then now it's at 119. At what price do you think we're going to be at by earnings, and what do you think happens there? Do you think we're going to break under 100? Do you think we're going to go back? Like, or is this earnings going to be inconsequential at all? What do you think?
Oh man, it's tough to say. It's an Elon company, so it's always going to have some sort of premium that, if you look at fundamentals, it shouldn't exist. That said, it's like a great company. We've already talked about the rich valuation. I would guess we might see under 100 by the week after earnings. Anything could happen in the earnings. Elon can say some things that, and it wouldn't actually surprise me if they get an earnings bump, just because Elon, he is very excited about SpaceX, and usually that enthusiasm bleeds into stock price action, at least temporarily, no matter what the actual results look like. So yeah, I'd guess maybe some fade into earnings, a pop from Elon just being bullish about it, and then probably under 100 maybe the week after. What do you think?
I definitely think we're going to fade into earnings. I don't think we're going to run up. And yeah, I would tend to agree with you. We pop after earnings on some hype that Elon has, and we continue to fade afterwards. I think the only wild card is if there is like an acquisition or something that's announced, or a bid. I think that's like all bets are off at that point. Poly market, I think, is climbing on the SpaceX Tesla acquisition controversy. And I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but it's definitely a wild card we have to keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is also a big piece here. I'd only buy SpaceX when all shares get unlocked. Like if you have the lockup periods opening up, like that's going to be a lot of selling pressure.
Yeah, other than Elon's, I think it's either the day after the full year or the day before. But that one, I wouldn't expect him to sell, at the open market or anything like that. But yeah, the rest for sure, it's something to keep an eye on. Yeah, like I don't know that we'll see SpaceX at the point where we're looking at like maybe an 800 billion valuation, not million. Million would be crazy. But let me ask you too, Tevis, because we one of the other surprises in the draft was that there was actually other people interested in Voyager, because it's one of those names it's I wouldn't say it's like obscure, but it's a stock that not too many people actually talk about. And
Yeah.
you have me paying attention to it and being very interested, although I don't have money right now, so it's more of a continue to investigate, and maybe I'll invest at some point in the future. Rather than create a new position, I'd rather just buy more core weave and suffer through the pain. Of course, Neil said he was doing the same thing, and he drafted it himself. It seems like Nate was very interested as well. So do you think if we're right on SpaceX drawing down in and through earnings, maybe there are some pumps, just from Elon being Elon. Do you think that continues to drag on the other space names, including Rocket Lab?
Yes, I do. I think now that SpaceX is a public company, it's going to be a persistent drag on other names. And the reason is because like it has a massive market cap. It's part of the indices, and a lot of things trade in a basket, right? If I'm passive buy and hold long-term investor, and I don't know anything about space, guess what I'm going to do first? Going to buy an ETF, right? And so I do think it's always going to have an overhang on other space names. Maybe that might differentiate. It might fork after a while if SpaceX proves to be a flop, let's say, from an execution perspective, and Rocket Lab proves to be amazing from an execution perspective. Maybe it can have an outsized premium, but I think these types of things trade directionally, right? It's the same with like data centers, right? When one is up, all are up. When one is down, all are down for the most part, except if you're CoreWeave. The interesting piece about the dates. So this comment here is interesting. August 6th is 20% of shares eligible for a sale from a lockup period perspective. August 4th was their earnings. So 2 days after earnings, you're going to have a flood of shares hitting the market, which of course could drag the shares down even further. So, I mean, look, if you own SpaceX and you want to write covered calls, I think you would definitely get a crazy premium for doing so. And it might be the play because just from a supply demand perspective, you're going to have more selling pressure than you're going to have buying pressure if the lockup period expiring is August 6th, 2 days after earnings.
Yeah. So with that said, what are your thoughts as far as where, like Rocket Lab, for instance? That's probably the only one that you and I know, like both know a good bit about. I've been researching Fly and Voyager as well, but where would you become a Rocket Lab instead of like Rocket Lab observer that you would be like, I got to figure out a way to buy this thing now?
Kryptonite says that isn't true. The stock must be above a certain stock price on August 6th. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just saying if the lockup was August 6th, then you're gonna have some sell pressure. In terms of Rocket Lab, like I messaged you earlier today, I said I gotta find some money under the couch cushion or something to buy Rocket Lab because it was down again today. It looks very compelling at these levels. I actually messaged Matt and I said, genuinely want to get into Rocket Lab at this level, maybe some leaps. I'm not sure yet. And Matt, do you want to know what he responded?
Buy it now.
He said, I think 40 billion in 5 years will look dumb. The company they're acquiring comes with 600 million EBITDA, which a lot will convert to income as Rocket Lab will knock out the debt. They'll have close to $1 EBITDA per share run rate in 2027. So it's growing.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting. Right? And I mean, you're getting a nice discount because this thing was at 150. Now, did it deserve to be at 150? Maybe it's overbought, let's say. Maybe it should have been at, I don't know, 80. But you're still getting a discount, right? Relative to the launches that they had. It's not like 2 years ago anymore, 3 years ago anymore. You can't get this thing at $4 anymore. Maybe it can fall even more, but I think the risk reward is getting fairly favorable here. I told Matt, I said, what did I say? I said, hold on. If we hit $140 range next week or so with ServiceNow earnings, I'll rotate it all into Rocket Lab at 66. So with that, we can pivot into ServiceNow as you'd like.
Well, I was going to say, I thought you, with the $140 range, because we were talking Rocket Lab, I was like, okay, maybe, like, what are you seeing that it's going to go past the all-time high, like, next week? Because I was like, I'll take the under. But no, like, this is over the last year. You can see how volatile this has been. A lot of it has been tied into the SpaceX name. It's down over half since the 150 down. And, of course, up year-to-date, still quite nicely, up 40%. If we look at this, this is over the last year, excuse me, not year to date. So we can see this isn't like deep TA or anything, but you can see right there around $40 has been a nice floor. I don't know that we see that again, Tevis, but yeah, I just have in my mind if we see low 40s price, and I am serious about wanting to get into Rocket Lab, I better do something about it. Well, we might not see it. I do think, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see 50s. It still is, you can go far enough out. There's a lot of TAM there. They execute very well as well. There is the acquisition, like Matt had said, and I've not ran and crunched those numbers. But if you look at it, it's still not cheap. And so even if it was dirt cheap, though, like we've seen names that get dragged just because of what's happening in an entire sector, and that's what's happening with space. Voyager is one of those too where I've been eyeing, and I'm interested in this. I don't have money lined up, otherwise I probably would have bought a little share. It's at 24 and some change. Well, let me do the same thing actually as Rocket Lab. You can actually see how close these names are in sync, although there's always individual news that can make these perform very differently. And Rocket Lab certainly was and has been that over the last 3 years, or over the last year, though. They have run somewhat in sympathy. Rocket Lab certainly is a more volatile. And so if we go 3 years out, yeah, execution matters. Voyager also wasn't public that long. But yeah, Rocket Lab has quite the premium. Now, this year, you can...
Sorry, can you go out 1 year and add SpaceX onto here? I'm kind of curious to see where SpaceX went public relative to all these. Because, like, remember our thesis? We said SpaceX is going to drag down the entire space trade.
Yeah. So these started running around the time when the date was announced for SpaceX. And, like, almost every single space play was up pretty massively. SpaceX, of course, deployed, and we talked about a strong inverse correlation for a little while until they actually became correlated, just traded as a basket. And you can see, like, that's just basket trading right there. It's not that Rocket Lab and Voyager and SpaceX all did stupid things. It just they ran a lot up, and that was not really a realistic premium. It's just traders being excited and individuals in the space. So let's look at actual. If we look at price, yeah, there we go. So you can see where they're at is in terms of its share. Voyager is one of those two where you can see it's actually pretty close to what has resembled a floor in the past. It has dipped below 20 from time to time. And so like that, I would say Voyager, if it falls below 20, if I want to get a position in Voyager, I should probably go ahead and do that, especially because there are some short-term catalysts, both for Rocket Lab and Voyager, that might, validate some of the price action that's happened in the past and also help these recover. So, but it'll be interesting. Like sometimes the market it's just trading this in a basket and it's tied around the valuation of SpaceX more than anything else. We can see cheap get like really cheap. Like it's not likely, but it's not impossible that we see Rocket Lab at like $35 and Voyager at like 12 or 13.
I'd love that.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not a massive space bull. I'm pretty consistent in my opinion on it. But hey, man, can't pass up a good deal, son.
Yeah, I've started getting a little bit more excited just with the drawdown. Like everything had run up so far and so fast, and it was just really expensive. But now, like with this drawdown, I'm like, okay, it's on the radar. I'm going to watch it. We'll have to see. But I also I don't know. These are some pretty interesting and incredible companies. Rocket Lab and SpaceX, I'm sure, are here to stay. Voyager likely is as well. And there's many others in this space, but
yeah. Martin here says, thinking Rocket Lab will drop to the 50s. At that point, it becomes a buy for me. If that doesn't happen, that's okay too. This is, I think, the perfect mentality. I was telling this, I hopped on Tanner's stream earlier today, and I was saying, like, more and more that I'm in the market, I find myself gravitating more to that Buffett idea of no called strikes, that you can just get pitches all day long for things. Because he asked me, like, why aren't you buying Palantir? And I was like, dude, I don't feel any type of pressure to buy any single name at all, right? ServiceNow, and we'll talk about that, I didn't have any pressure to buy it, right? I just thought it was oversold, and I did some reading, some homework on it, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. This thesis kind of makes sense. I want to play it out. It's going to be a swing trade. Cool, let's buy it. And I could have waited another month, another week, another year. I could have just waited forever, not bought it at all. And it would all have been fine because there's thousands and thousands of stocks on any given day that's fighting for your attention and your dollars. And you don't need to be in everything. So if Rocket Lab wants to go to 50s, great. If it wants to go to 35, even better. If it never goes there and I never get in, I think I just have to be okay with the fact that I never got it and not get FOMO and not rush in emotionally. Other than that, it's all good.
Could you throw up Jay Kim's comment at 650? He said people forget SpaceX raised in June in 2025 at 400 billion, raised again at 800 billion in December 2025. How did it double again before going public? Two things. One is that's what IPOs tend to do. You have a nice pop in valuation and then a fade, usually over 3 to 6 months. It can be longer as well. SpaceX also announced, had a lot of news that came out. Part of that was selling the extra compute that they had for very, very high value. And there's a couple other contracts that they won on the government side. So I don't know, like, well, the other thing too, private equity valuations shouldn't really be used as a comparison too often. Like, take it with a grain of salt with publicly traded peers. Right now, we're in the environment where there is a bubble in private equity for a lot of these. And so just because something in private equity trades at a certain thing doesn't mean that the public entity should trade at that exact same valuation. But
Sorry,
yeah.
like, yeah, 800 again, December 2025. When did SpaceX buy XAI? Because I'm pretty sure it was this year.
It was within the last 12 months. And they bought Cursor too.
I think it was after December 2025, right? In which case they wouldn't have had a revaluation until after they bought XAI. But I'm not sure in that. So like that could attribute to why it IPO'd at 1.7 versus raising at 800 billion in December 2025. It's like they bought a whole ass AI company.
Yeah, no, they did. There was a lot of news. So that's certainly a factor as well. SpaceX hasn't been sitting around. All right, so ServiceNow. I saw some questions related to ServiceNow. And they asked me, I don't follow ServiceNow and well enough to like say, hey, this is what's going to happen in earnings. But perhaps you do, Tevis. I know that you're invested in ServiceNow over Palantir. Won't hold that and be bitter against you forever, but just for a little while. So what are your thoughts and expectations going in? Is this the time to see them build on that floor? And of course, the numbers I think will be good. But what are your expectations?
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record. Because I made a video of this. I talked about this on Tanner's thing and also on a podcast with Wolf. But essentially with ServiceNow, I think this quarter is going to be largely the thing that validates the thesis of has this been unfairly oversold in a basket of SaaS companies, or has it been something that's differentiated with a moat that's actually going to be benefited from AI? And once the market makes a determination on that, it's going to get re-rated either up or it's going to stay, here or fall drastically. Last quarter, for example, everything fundamentally for ServiceNow was doing well. The renewal rates were well. The performance obligations were doing fine. The growth rate was fine. The margins were fine. The narrative was not great. Don't forget that they've also had acquisitions that are going to help them on that front. They're going to raise their guidance yet again for the AI revenue. So that's going to be bullish. Bill McDermott flat out said that. So I expect it to come in above expectations. I expect them to also raise their guidance as a result of the AI orchestration piece that they're benefiting on. So there's a lot of pieces here. But regardless of all of the positive catalysts in the last quarter, they dropped 18%, which is their biggest in company history. I think this time around, if in fact we see a reiteration of the outperformance of the double beat and the guidance raise, I think the market will re-rate this higher because that's all the validation the market will need in order to send this to 130, 140, and even higher from there. It doesn't ServiceNow, if you were to just look at the numbers, it doesn't belong here. It shouldn't be trading under a 1 peg ratio. So I think the market's just going to wake up, and I think this quarter is like the make or break quarter for the market to do that.
So as far as your position, what are you prepared to do? Is this just I'm going to hold it. I don't know when it's going to rebound, although you think obviously that it might happen relatively soon. Or are you looking at adding at certain levels? Or are you like, hey, if this thing pops at earnings, I'm out?
3 scenarios, okay? And I laid this out more in depth in my video, but scenario number 1 is it gets re-rated higher and the market finally sees ServiceNow as a business that will benefit from AI. It goes to 130, 140, at which point I'll probably be looking to reduce or exit my position because that'll have been a 40% gain in a month for me on that capital. Scenario number 2, ServiceNow executes well, beats all their numbers, raises their guidance, and the revenue from AI is accelerating. All the numbers come in well, but the stock gets sold off. I'm going to be doubling down on that position. And I'm going to be buying more in a heavier way, and I'm going to be holding it for longer. Scenario number 3 is if the performance obligations drop to like 19%, the renewal rate drops to 96%, maybe the margins get compressed, or the revenue falls, or the guidance doesn't get raised. There's a whole lot of, like, I have like 5 or 6 numbers that I'm looking out for ServiceNow. I'm probably going to be exiting my position at a loss, most likely.
Those are thesis breakers for you? Just seeing the renewals churn off faster than expected?
Yeah, because they have contracts that are going to be like their annual contracts. And so we don't necessarily know how many of them are going to renew when the time comes, right? And right now we're going off of, like expectations. But if those actually come in lower than what we think, then it's something that could point to the fact that AI is in fact disrupting this business. But again, ServiceNow for me, when I entered it in June, July, it was entirely as a swing trade, and earnings was upcoming. Like, let me see, when was the first video that I made on ServiceNow? Like, when did I actually enter this position? Because that'll give you an idea of like what my timeline has been like. When I first entered ServiceNow was June 29th. Okay. June 29th, and earnings is coming up on July 22nd. So I bought, 5% of my portfolio, something like that, saying it's going to be a swing trade. I think it's oversold. I think they're going to crush it next earnings and they're going to get re-rated higher. If that happens, I'm out. If it doesn't happen, I'm out. And if the company proves that they're resilient, but the stock doesn't move, I'm going to be doubling down. This is never like a long-term buy and hold for me. It was just, I want to take advantage of the situation. Same thing with Rocket Lab, by the way. If I buy Rocket Lab at 60 and Rocket Lab bounces to 90 and next month, guess what? I'm out. Right? Because I want to hold my core convictions and everything. Like, I want to take advantage of the market's irrational, emotional state that it's in right now.
Sure. All right. That's useful. Remind us what day they report.
Wednesday. 22nd of July, I'll be live streaming it with Chris Patel.
All right, very nice. Okay, ready for Q&A?
Sure am, sir. Let's go into Q&A. All right, guys, we got 26 questions bookmarked here for Q&A. Actually, hold on, there's a couple more. We got 29 questions bookmarked for Q&A. If you have questions, ask them now before I close this cutoff. Let's see. Should we be concerned about SoFi? Seems like the macro is getting worse with war escalation.
The only real concern with SoFi is rates. The company's not going to die or anything, but they might slow lending, which again will slow top line revenue growth for SoFi. It'll impact EPS as well. But yeah, they're building, I think, in the right direction. But yeah, rate cuts are a lot better than rate hikes. I still don't think that we're going to see, if we see a rate hike, that we'll see more than one. And so SoFi will be fine with that. But there's uncertainty there, so we'll have to see. Are you concerned at all?
I'm more curious. I agree with you on the rate uncertainty. I think that's how the market is going to perceive it. As a long-term investor in SoFi, I'm curious to see what they report on earnings, especially any commentary that they have on the new business lines and what the take rate is looking like, or what the guidance is going to look like from there.
Yeah.
Thomas says, I don't think I've heard much talk from you two around Marvell. What do you think of it as a standalone play or even as a hedge against NVIDIA?
Ooh, I don't think I would want to hedge, use that as like a pair trader or hedge against NVIDIA. Intel was probably that in the past. Intel has run really, really high at this point. Probably the two are going to be in concert because, it's like the same theme and idea as far as what's happening in the AI space. So if there's a lot of consternation and concern with this build out, all the names, even if they're very dissimilar like these two, are going to be impacted. So Marvell, though, like individually in isolation, it's one of those where I've not spent enough time to study it to say, hey, this is a great investment or not. It's kind of like Qualcomm, where it's like, I'm aware of it. I see what other people are posting and why they're excited. Jensen is very excited, but yeah, it seems like it's at least a good opportunity. But yeah, I'm in Nvidia.
Jack cut the line saying, hi, thank you for the $5 to
Thank you.
Roy's channel. Hi, you're live, but I just started, so I'm 55 minutes in the past. So you are actually in the future. To me, is the AI revolution still going strong? Yes, I think it is.
Yes.
Oops, wrong button. All right. Connor says, I bought a bunch of CoreWeave. What do you think is really beating down the price?
So I think it's mostly the debt. It's probably part of the reason why Oracle was down. We talked about the other news why Oracle was down, but they both have debt. With CoreWeave, like the one thing, and I don't think this is why the market is selling it off. And we will talk about tomorrow, like what we think the legitimate bear case is for each of these names. But for CoreWeave, like the one that I think is legitimate is they have price commits on memory buyout, and that's through Nvidia, I believe, rather than buying directly through Micron. And so there was talk last week, for instance, of them hedging against a collapse in memory prices. And the reason why they'd want to do that is if everybody else is able to buy memory much cheaper and they don't have those floor prices there. CoreWeave, by the way, did that just to ensure that they have the supply. It's one of those trade-offs. Other names that don't have that, they may not get the supply that they need when they need it. But if everybody gets access at a much cheaper rate for some reason, which I wouldn't expect for years to come, but if that happens, then all of a sudden their pricing of their models are a lot higher because they've had to pay a lot more for memory. So that's one of those like kind of legitimate bear cases. Like the debt stuff, I think the market just doesn't understand. Like I've talked about this a few times, but these are take or pay contracts that you can't really get out of outside of very, very select circumstances. And I've detailed those on X. And I think the problem is most of the people that are focused on studying the data center plays, they're maybe analysts and researchers and investors that don't understand energy markets and capital expenditure using very well-known take or pay contracts that have guaranteed revenue in the future. You have a guaranteed run rate of when all this stuff comes online as well. You end up financing based on that expected revenue. And then over time, as that revenue ramp accelerates, you then begin to buy down some of the debt. You get a higher credit rating. You can refinance. All of a sudden, you're generating a ton of cash, and you hadn't had to dilute the shareholders. But I think that's it. Like I don't know. Like the other difference, obviously, CoreWeave is a bare metal play, not the NeoCloud stuff, and that is a lower margin product. But there's a lot of trade-offs and benefits, and just because it's a bare metal play doesn't mean that it's bad. When you're in a space that needs an incredible amount of inference, it's really good because it allows you to focus on building just that. All your resources, all your time, all your attention, and all your talent are focused on just delivering that. Not, hey, let's acquire this really neat company like Tavili, which Nebius did. Great opportunity for them, great buy. But CoreWeave is just like, hey, let's just build more freaking data centers. And that's a great thing right now. Now, we'll see what things look like in 5 years, but I don't know. Like the annual run rate is going to look insane. That's going to be a huge beat on earnings. Margins, there was an analyst note that came out today that said it might be a miss. I don't think it's margins. Like if it's margins in the market is not just being stupid, it's being idiotic. Because then it's like it forgets companies that say are ramping their revenue after a massive build out that they don't exactly have the best margins right away. They will over time. So,
yeah.
Is there any? Well, I guess we'll talk more about it tomorrow.
For which? Oh yeah, data center tomorrow. Okay. So, yeah, go ahead.
Could you throw up George's comment too? I think that I want to talk about that one. So George Silva, yeah. Another issue with CoreWeave for me is the CEO looks incredibly overwhelmed, whereas the Nebius CEO looks completely in charge and focused. I don't think CoreWeave's CEO is overwhelmed. I think he's probably frustrated by the price action, but most CEOs get that when your stock is being beaten down, despite really, really good execution. The one pushback that I've seen on CoreWeave's talent is at the top, like a lot of those guys are finance guys. They're not engineers. They're not the ones that are actually building and designing these things. But what CoreWeave has effectively done is hire that talent. And so they were the first to actually have the verified Vera Rubin up and running. I think Microsoft is still working on that. And CoreWeave announced that like a month ago. NVIDIA, by the way, it's not just them saying that they were the first. NVIDIA is like, hey, these guys did it first as well. So they for the strategy that CoreWeave is building out, which is let's do these take or pay models. Let's take on debt against that. Let's make sure that the supply chain is as optimized as possible. Let's look at hedging means in case the memory ends up collapsing in terms of price. I think that you want those guys at the top. I wouldn't say that, like, I usually love and prefer engineers rather than finance guys, unless it's a finance company to be in charge. But in this case, I'm like, hey, I think they have the right leadership. And they've not made the mistake, which I think would have been really easy to do, of saying, hey, we were just going to do bare metal, but just kidding. Let's do a late pivot into the Neo Cloud. That, I mean, I would have to look and see how serious they are, how much they're committing to that and everything. But I would have, at the very least, questions, if not concerns. But they've not done that. They're like, hey, this is a strategy. It is playing out beautifully. The stock market doesn't get it yet, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I would rather have an engineering CEO than a salesperson CEO. And this is coming from somebody who's worked with both. Like, salespeople CEO is just like pulling teeth, man, honestly.
Usually, yes. The exception is Alex Karp, who is the greatest salesperson out there. And he's not an engineer.
He's not a salesperson. I mean, he's way too autistic to be a salesperson, bro.
He was Palantir's sales team for the longest time. Like, they didn't have one. He's like, hey, we just need the product. We don't need a sales team at all. And it's like, oh, man. So, like, literally, it was that was like one of the funniest things last year with Michael Burry's like case. He's like, hey, these guys spent a lot of money on Karp's private jet fuel. And it's like, you do realize he's not just going on like these epic skiing vacations or anything. He's flying to all these governments, all these major companies, landing these deals. He's still very involved in that. So, but yeah, regardless, I agree with you. Normally, you want the engineering talent, but I think there are exceptions. And CoreWeave is one of those where I think it makes sense with Nebius and Iren, the style that they're doing, to focus more on the engineering talent up top. CoreWeave, I'm perfectly fine with a finance guy at the top.
Yeah. We have 33 questions, so we have more questions than we answered. What is your 2030 price target for Nebius, conservative and bullish? Honestly, man, like, anything that I say is going to be, cherry picked. And I have a 2027 price target, and I have a range for that, which is the bullish, the bearish, and the median. And the range is literally like $300 from the bearish to the bullish. So there's a massive degree of error here, because there's execution risk, plus there's what is the speed of their build out. Like, we can have something on the regulatory front, which you just talked about, slow them down. There's so many pieces here that can go wrong or go right, which would just make it like finger in the wind type of price target. I would say let's take it a year at a time. Let's go 2027 price target, and then we sort of go from there.
Yeah. The ARR really matters, and we'll talk about one of the projects that might. There's rumors of it anyway being get delayed, the Vineland project, but we'll do that tomorrow. And the new product line, a lot of Nebius news.
I've been adding to Oracle thoughts on it. Yeah, we talked about Oracle at the 19-minute mark in their latest news.
Yeah, I drafted it in the 4th round, so that should tell you something.
Could CoreWeave be in the same situation with BM&R? I have no idea what this is. Oh, like it just just gets sold off nonstop?
Oh, no. Like there's not a data center winter right now. There's a crypto winter weighing on BM&R, and of course the underlying asset, which is mostly Ethereum. CoreWeave, bad stock right now, really good company. Earnings are coming up, and it's not tied to the movement price of crypto or some other asset that's out there. So, no, I'd say entirely different.
Yeah. Not going to answer that. Do we know Jake Bro? Yeah, I think I know this guy. Yeah. Hold on. He lost all his money. I don't know how
Hmm.
this guy lost his money, honestly. Do you follow this guy?
No, I've never heard of him.
Yeah, he's on X. He was big into Lemonade. I know he invests in Wix, but now he's all like about Jesus and he lost all his money or something. Um,
Well,
I
being
don't
about
know any
Jesus,
of
I like that, but that stinks if he lost everything.
I don't know any of the context at all. This post was kind of interesting on base 44 ARR relative to Replit and Lovable versus their valuations. Makes you kind of bullish on Wix.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Like Manuel drafted Wix pretty early, and I figured he would, but it was one of those second or third round picks for me that ended up, it was already taken. So yeah,
Yeah,
Wix is base 44. Like that's the play, and you do need to be careful. Like I mentioned before, public trade versus a private equity trade. They're not going to trade at the same valuation. They're just not in the current environment. But base 44 is doing very well. So
yeah. I have no idea what happened. I don't know how somebody goes from 10 million to negative 500K. I don't know how that happens without some serious like leverage. But again, I don't want to speculate because I don't have any of the context here. Crazy. Yeah, very crazy story. Thoughts on the BMNR buyback? Will MNAV recover back above 1? Great question.
yeah, so the interesting thing is it was a very small buy on Ethereum and a large amount of shares bought back. This is the first, like there's been mentions of like including previous buybacks and stuff, but nothing meaningful. I think in the past, this seemed like a meaningful buyback as well. It will MNAV recover above 1. It sure will by the time that we crypto winter is resolved and we're in crypto spring, and we'll see that gap over time improve usually through the course of crypto summer and crypto fall. But yeah, it may be underneath for a while. I don't know that today is enough of an indication like, hey, we're going to be above 1 anytime soon. What did you think about the buyback when you saw that?
I mean, yeah, bullish, obviously. I saw that they only bought like 7,000 ETH, but they bought like 5.5 million shares. I'll take it, honestly. I just don't know
Yeah.
how, and again, not to be a negative Nancy, I'm bullish on the news. I think it's good for the company. I just don't know how they can keep buying back shares in a big way because their yield is like peanuts compared to how much they've diluted to get that yield. You know what I'm saying? Um, so it's good, but again, the entire reason they had the money in the first place was because they diluted to get that money.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Now,
Um,
the stock has fallen drastically since they diluted, so I'm sure they're getting some arbitrage by buying back those same shares. But I just don't know that it's something that they can do consistently.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a fair take. Like, are we going to see subsequent weeks where all of a sudden they are able to buy back 5 million shares and also buy a little bit of ETH? Like, no, they're going to be constrained at some point. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I like the buyback. Like, there is a disconnect there with the MNAV. They're not selling ETH to finance the buyback. That I would be probably thinking that the market would hate that unless MNAV was really compressed, and even still, some shareholders would hate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Tanner's doing 4-hour streams daily now. It's crazy. I love how I say it's crazy, even though like the rest of the world works minimum 8 hours a day. And but yeah, 4 hours a day is the. But like I
Yeah,
saw when I went on Tanner's stream earlier today, I saw Steve was also streaming at the same time, and he had like 1,000 viewers, and I was like, holy, competition for these time slots is heating up, and
yeah.
like they're competing with each other. So I was like in between meetings, I was like, I can only stay for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Um,
you went on with him live today?
yeah, for like
Okay,
30
good.
minutes, 20 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, he'd reach out to me, and today was not the day. I'm hoping to do that tomorrow, but we'll see. But yeah,
Yeah,
you and I are full time workers. We got careers outside of this, so no 4 hour streams daily for us.
yeah. Are you kidding me? 4-hour streams. but
2 maybe. No.
Canadians, right? All right, let's move on. Yeah, I mean we do 4 hours, but it's like 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
2 podcasts, 2 hours each. Thoughts on Navitas pre-earnings?
Yeah, so that's my 12th round pick in the draft there. I think it might take a little bit of time. So I don't know the company well enough as far as like specifically on earnings, like if that's your question. But if you're looking at like over the next year, there's a couple of things that are happening. One is one of the substrates that have been most neglected in this build out has been gallium nitride for whatever reason. We're seeing it with air test systems, the way that Gain Erickson talks about it, that there's potential there, but it's behind silicon photonics now, certainly behind silicon carbide. Those are heating up both very nicely. But with gallium nitride, that its time in the sun might be as more of these data centers roll over to the 8 VDC specifically, a lot which do use a gallium nitride. So Navitas has a big role in that, but this earnings, I don't know it well enough, to be honest. I have swung traded before, and right now I have no money. Otherwise, I probably would be like at these pricing levels, swing trading them as well.
Yep. Prediction on Google earnings CapEx guidance. Do you think they will reiterate same as Q1, increase or lower? Honestly, man, I think they're going to increase.
Right? I think the rate of increase might slow, but yeah, they're going to probably increase.
Yeah. How much has Roy chastised himself enough for choosing Meta? Feel like he should be fined or something. Yeah, that was a shocker to everybody.
I was just upset that Corey was taken right before me as a second overall pick. But yeah, no, Meta, like I've said, I really do believe it's a very good company in terms of like one that's executing well and it's trading very cheaply. I just couldn't be a real shareholder of it, but like fake on paper, sure. Like where would you have taken Meta? Like by the third round, right?
Yeah, third, fourth. I don't even think who took Amazon?
Somebody in like the 5th or 6th round. I was so tempted. So yeah, let's pull this up.
You know who? So certified AI dev is in the chat. You know what would be a good feature for this? If you have a search bar where I can actually search a ticker and I can see the portfolio.
Yeah. He asked for suggestions. He's the one that designed this for us, so really nice of him.
Neil.
Yeah, I had Meta first round, Nvidia second round, Microsoft third round, and I ended up taking Oracle fourth round. But yeah, Amazon. Let's see. Was it Neil? Yeah, Neil took it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th round.
On here.
Yeah.
What are you using as your data source for the quotes? I saw you had a 2-minute delay. Are you using FMP for that, or what are you using? Because that's like not a big delay at all. It's like it sounds like a paid service because normally it's 15 minutes delayed or more. Anyways, we'll see what he says. Yeah, you took Meta, Neil took Amazon. Dude,
yeah, I
crazy return today.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, he had Nebius right at the top, which helped. But
look at this. Look at that.
Oh man, yeah.
It's one day.
That's what's driving this for him. So yeah. And that's one I don't know like at all other than what was mentioned on the thing. Yeah, Iren, of course, you had, which is your big mover.
And Penguin, because
that's true.
Penguin was. Look at this. Yeah. The thing that dragged me down today was Bloom Energy was down 7% because I would have been at number 1 slot. But such is life. Anyways, all right. Let's continue here. I would have taken Iren earlier. Dude, people forgot about Iren. I picked it in like the 11th round or something or 10th round, and people had forgotten. They were like, oh yeah, Iren still exists as a company.
I mean, I had it on my list, and I was likewise surprised that no one had taken it. We have concerns around leadership, but like it was really undervalued. And the question was like when it would have contract news and everything. This is probably going to fade over time, along with other data centers, as long as they're pulled down. I don't think it's going to necessarily go back to where it was before. Like, people were waiting on that announcement for a long time. But yeah, I actually talked about it a little bit in my video too, where I had taken Oracle in the fourth round kind of as my data center play, but a lot of the other names are tied to the data center build out. And I'm like, do I want to take Iren here in case data centers continue to take off? And so I was like, okay, last time I lost the competition completely. Like, let me have a strategy at least here where I might not win. Like, I think there's a possibility that any one of us could win. But I was like, let me also be a little bit more conservative. So I'm probably not going to be the bottom basement loser again. And we see how that's playing out on day one.
Jeff El Jefe says Tanner and Steve are too stuck on the same AI BS every day. Refreshing to come here and not talk about AI capex and milk rants. You know why, man? Because it's quality over quantity. You can be streaming 4 hours every single day, and there's a time and a place for that. But if you only have 1 hour, let's say, or 2 hours per week, which is what we have in Fiesta Friday and Bootleg combined, 2 hours per week to talk about the news, and then another 2 hours per week, which is just Q&A, the level of like originality, let's say, is much higher because you condense all of those news into a shorter time span. So appreciate it very much.
Yeah. And to be fair, we did talk a fair bit about AI build out and CapEx.
Yeah.
There's just so much, and so many plays are related to that. It's what is driving the action in the stock market, a lot of the action. So I think if somebody is ignoring that completely, that's also the wrong approach. But yeah, there's other things to talk about as well. Yeah, I could never, like, I thought about it, like what scenario might make me go full time, because again, I love my job, I love what I do. But if I was, I'm like, man, I don't know that I could do. Like, I could do more for sure, but at a certain point, I'm like, hey, I'm out of juice. I got no new ideas. I'm just talking here. Well, I wouldn't be interested in making that kind of content.
I think there's two things that makes us unique. Number one is just the fact that there's two of us and there's back and forth and like there's a good rapport. And number two is the Q&A. I think that is really good for community building because people can just ask whatever and like we'll pretty much bring it up on screen. Yeah, the Bootleg brand is the Q&A. I agree with this entirely. So yeah, but Roy and I, man, we have big plans to retire in Greece, and we'll do this from a beach somewhere. So stay tuned. In the next 5 years, we're gonna be in Greece.
Maybe we'll see. Yeah, like it's interesting. It's not a bad idea. So
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. We're gonna be in Greece. We're gonna do a live, like, in-person podcast. It's gonna be great.
That'd be fun.
All right. Yeah, Travis reacts to comments. I agree. Any thoughts on AMKR Amcor? I want to say
Amcor. I did take them. Yeah, I took them in the like 11th round or something. So it's one that I don't know like too well. But this is, by the way, like, if you guys don't know what it is, it's the GPU packaging, chipset packaging. So it's not packaging as far as shipping, but you have to do more than just create the wafer. You need to stamp it out. You need to put on the chips on wafer substrate and so forth. So I don't know them well enough as far as like the specific earnings. And so Phil, you probably know them a lot better than I do. I just know that like they're in a very good space, that as long as you see more news like we saw with Google, where they're like, hey, frozen chips, and you see Apple having plans, and you see Amazon that has plans with the Trinium chip, and you see all these other designs coming out. Amcor is one of those that's in the production's pipeline with all these things, and they should benefit. But yeah, quarter three, I have no idea. I don't know them that well.
Yeah. Kryptonite says, another thing I like about Tevis and Dr. Roy, in caps, they allow for strong criticism and they don't just shadow ban. Yes, this is exactly it. Matthew Johnson says, so if Bootleg moat is Q&A, does that mean I play a big part in the moat since I asked so many questions? Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it is, like, for us too, like, our favorite part too. It's so easy to be A, in an echo chamber, and B, like, so focused on like certain names and themes that we ignore everything else. And so we'll always shoot you guys straight if there's something like we don't know very well or have an opinion on. We'll not make it up. But sometimes your comments, actually quite often, I would say, lead to some new ideas. Like, I hadn't thought about that, or you guys will mention like the same name time and time again. Like, okay, I need to actually look into this thing, and so it's great. I enjoy this.
Yeah. I'd love to meet some of you guys in person at the August meetup, August 15th in Toronto. Myself and Tanner are going to be there. I think Matt Money is going to be there for sure. Chris Patel potentially could be there. Steve is going to be there. Roy, I would love for him to be there, but unfortunately, I don't know if he is.
No.
But if you guys do not catch me in Toronto on August 15th, I'm probably going to be visiting Houston at some point in late September. So TBD, we'll see if that ends up happening or not. So there you go. Anyways, let's continue. Can't go to Canada with those fires. I mean, yeah, I don't disagree. Just log on, have the guys discuss the NVIDIA stake in Nebius. Yeah, there's been multiple questions on this, guys. I'll just cover it super quickly, just to clarify. So we did get a 13G filing today, which showed that NVIDIA had a 9.3 stake in Nebius. This is not new news. This is just a filing that was today. I said here, people are getting really excited, and it is, but read the fine print. It's the same $2 billion warrant position from March 11th, which was the 21 million shares, plus 1.2 million shares that they had pre-existing, that they had before. This is not new buying. The filing was just triggered because the September 11th lockup expiration entered the 60-day beneficial ownership window. So it's good directionally because obviously, Jensen is backing NVIDIA and rooting for them to succeed, but it's not new. I just want you guys to know this, like, not to throw cold water on it, but just to be factually correct. Okay, let's move on. Thoughts on CoreWeave going from +6 to red today, Roy?
I mean, we've seen it. Like, it seems like that happens every day, that we get the nice pop and then it just has no strength at all. Usually on no news. Sometimes, like, there's always news, like, as far as the broader macro including data centers. But yeah, it's really weak stock. I do think that probably changes in earnings. But again, like we talked about earlier, they do need to raise some more money. And the market hates that right now. Hates it. Would rather that CoreWeave just stop building, I guess. Which is weird, but okay.
Yeah. Details on Toronto, please. Yeah, so I pinned it. I mean, you're watching from X, but I pinned it on the YouTube channel. There is an invite Saturday, August. I'll just share my screen. This is hosted by Tanner, and there is a price. I think that also gets you a drink or something. I'm a guest in this as well, by the way, guys. Like, I'm not. I'm gonna be there, and I'm here to support, but I have no say in like what the location is, what the price is, anything like this. But yeah, it is Toronto, August 15th, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. $15 is the admission. I think that gets you a drink. I'm not sure. Let me see. But I would love to see you guys there. I think that would be lots of fun. And let me know. And this is the link. Or, I mean, you could just Google this. That's what I did. Future Investing Community Meetup. And if you're on YouTube, I just pinned it on the channel.
Yeah, if you guys are coming in late, by the way, I see a lot of questions related to if we talked about this or that with these data center names, with the model Kimi news in China. We're having tomorrow Data Center Monthly, and so Tevis is going to be our special guest along with Nate and I, because there's so much Nebius news specifically. We'll, of course, talk CoreWeave, we'll talk Iren, we'll talk maybe some of the smaller plays and some of the broader macro pieces as well. We'll talk about the New York State ban, we'll talk about realistic bear case scenarios, expectations and earnings, all sorts of different things. So tune in for that one. That one is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, it'll be alive.
Yeah, I'd love to bring up some of these comments on screen, but unfortunately, I don't think I should. But
I
yes,
see them though.
to all of the comments, yes.
You are
Um,
seen.
you are seen and heard and accepted and loved. AJ says, "Have you seen the premiums on selling calls for Nebius for August, September, even at $300?" Yes, I have. It is beautiful. Like, dude, I just sold cash secured puts at the money on Nebius a couple of days ago, and I got like $53 but I mean, I sold them for December, but still, I got like $53 in premium for at the money for 5 months out. What? Like, what?
That's pretty
Hold on,
good.
let me just do that. $53 divided by 175. Dude, that's 30% return in 5 months, guaranteed.
So that kind of related, not really related, but I'm a little bit surprised that you're not in Rocket Lab simply because the premiums are juicy and you like to write puts pretty aggressively. But yeah, there's only so much money to grab.
Yeah, there's only so much margin I can go in. Wow, certified AI dev says the site now has a search feature. It is deployed. If we refresh, we should be able to see it. What a king!
All right.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right there at the top. Very cool. Thank you.
Gotta take Tevis to Burnt Bean Barbecue, listed as the #1 barbecue place in Texas monthly. Is this in Houston?
I've not heard of that. Burnt bean. It's probably in the triangle though, but let's see. It is in Austin. No, it's Seguin, Texas.
I don't even
So-
know what Seguin, Texas is.
Yeah.
Dude, it's funny because like I went to Argentina for an entire month and I was like, oh, I gotta buy, like, it was one of my tasks in my mind, and I never ended up buying a Messi jersey, or a Maradona or anything like this. And I just didn't do it. And I went to the shop and it kind of seemed expensive. It was like $25 or whatever. I'm like, that's a ripoff. And I didn't do it. And then these guys went all the way to the finals. But I have my Spain jersey because I was rooting for Spain in the last World Cup. So yeah, I actually saw them live in the last World Cup against Germany in the group stages. Okay, which earnings are going to blow us away and why? I think ServiceNow. I highlighted the bull case. We'll see.
Yeah. So like stock price action can do anything. Robinhood though, like if you look at the monthly metrics and everything and the predictions market stuff, dude, they're going to have a really, really good earnings call. Part of that is, the reason why, of course, the stock is up a lot over the last 3 months. Figure is accelerating and growing rapidly. They of course have preliminary numbers, and since it's on the blockchain, you can actually look. They designed some better interfaces where you can see those results. Very, very impressive there. CoreWeave as well. The ARR is going to just blow people out of the water in terms of expectations. Up to maybe 130 or even a little bit north of that billion. Market expects much, much lower as well. So Palantir, I think, will also have very strong, very good earnings. They're already growing like 85% year over year. So I don't know. I've not done the earning predictions thing, so I need to look into that. But it's been trading in a range and kind of down, and so it might be one of those things where the market actually starts to pay it a little bit more attention. There's a lot of names too, like Nvidia. Of course, Nvidia is going to have great earnings. Don't know if the market will do anything with Nvidia. It might just be like, nope, it's going to be at $200 forever. So,
Yeah. Matthew Johnson says, I think you guys should have Manuel give some deep dives on his stock picks. Half of them I've never even heard from the draft. Honestly, this is like the hidden bonus of the draft, is the fact that I can pick Manuel's brain without me asking to pick Manuel's brain.
yes.
It was strange for Claude to be so slow during the draft. We use Claude Code for more complex tasks, and it is never this slow. Perhaps Pro versus Enterprise. Yeah, I'm on the $30 plan. I used to be on the 5X plan. So on Pro, but the extra one, because I'm just an individual. And yeah, that's what you saw. That's the $30 plan. If you ever go on margin, what is a safe limit? Generally speaking, I'll try to stick with 20 to 30% at the max. I don't think I've ever been like, 50 or 60 or anything above that of margin.
Yeah, I very selectively use margin, and it's pretty much always tied to money that I know, like it's guaranteed, is coming into the market fairly soon. Um, is there a point where I do more aggressively? Maybe, but I need to be very, very selective with that and careful.
Yeah. Thoughts on Pinterest? Okay, interesting. So look, I think Pinterest is honestly, man, if you want like a semi-contrarian take, I think it's going to be a perfect buyout candidate. Um,
For the
the
data?
reason is, yeah, for the data, exactly. To train AI on the visual side, and then also like as a search engine in general, like they're a profitable business. They're growing. I mean, very modestly. Um, Ads based type of business right now, but I honestly think that similar to Reddit, right? But like Reddit has way more organic written data, but Pinterest is a different kind. I think somebody can scoop them up fairly cheaply. I mean, Pinterest is trading incredibly low right now. They're what, like, yeah, $22? Are you kidding me?
You held this a while ago. You sold it much higher than where it's here. Are
Yeah.
you?
Wow. I sold it at like $43, I think.
Yeah. And I have no thoughts. That's a name where I know it exists, but I don't pay
Wow.
much attention to it.
Dude, Pinterest is currently under $13 billion, about $12.5 billion. Somebody can pick this up so cheap, and like $12 billion in the grand scheme of AI is really nothing at all. And let's just take a look at their latest quarter super quickly here. 2 seconds. So let me share this screen. Um, so let's take a look. All right, revenue growth, like they're still growing. 18% revenue growth, about $1 billion in revenue versus 13 billion in market cap. Okay. Monthly active users kind of flat. 11% growth in monthly active users. Average revenue per user, single digit growth. Double digits in Europe and rest of world. Oh, look at this. This is not good. The costs are growing at a much faster clip than the rest of the business is growing, right? So if you have the costs growing 20% and then you have the
Yeah.
revenue growing less than the costs, okay, it's
I
one
wonder if
thing.
there's a reason for that.
Probably
But
is. Adjusted EBITDA fell from 41% in last quarter, but I think there's seasonality here as well. It's pretty flat. 12 months, 30% adjusted EBITDA, 93% free cash flow. No. Wow. Okay. Let's take a look very quickly at let me see here. Hold on. Sorry, I don't want to hijack this, but I think this could be interesting. Not the press. Here we go. Yeah. Oh no, let's go up here actually. So strong start, AI innovation. They do these like reports every year around the trends, and it's kind of crazy, Roy. Like the trends that they spot them super early because it's basically like a search engine, right?
yeah,
I'm not seeing it here, but yeah, I mean, no thoughts other than I think this could be a buyout target for sure. Like the numbers are not bad, and the data that they're sitting on is pretty significant. Drive personalization and engagement with proprietary AI models, post training open source models on proprietary taste graph, including their own generative retrieval system and Canvas, an in house AI image generation model trained exclusively on their proprietary data. That's interesting. Yeah. Overall, I mean, it's not the most exciting business in the world, and I think the stock price reflects that, especially in this day and age, right?
right.
Pinterest has an opportunity to merge with Etsy, or they did. Yeah, Etsy spun out, like, the Etsy acquired Depop, and then they spun out Depop like 2 years after.
I mean, even PayPal was talking about acquiring them during COVID. So,
PayPal was, yeah, that was like the peak
and
of interest.
and now they're going to be acquired by Google. You heard it here first.
I mean, ironically, that was like the peak of PayPal and of Pinterest.
Yeah.
Back in 2021, PayPal was going to acquire them. But yeah, man, Pinterest. I made a bunch of money on Pinterest when it actually first IPO'd, because it IPO'd around $20, and then it fell to like $10, and I was buying on the way down, and then it just freaking skyrocketed to like $89. I think was the top, and then I was like trimming along the way, but yeah, then it crashed all the way back down to like $20, and then went back up to like 50, and then back down to 20. um, yeah. All right, we spent way too much time on just that question. We talked about the DM&R buyback. I shared some thoughts there. If you want to hear about that, go back to the start of the Q&A period. Let's go. Yep, I mentioned NVIDIA, Nebius. What are your thoughts and expectations for ServiceNow? Yeah, we talked about this. SpaceX at 80 or Rocket Lab at 60?
Pretty easily.
Really?
Mm-hmm. SpaceX is just so expensive right now. It's a great company, and it probably will and should trade at a premium over Rocket Lab, but some of that premium is short-term revenue boost from the data center plays too. So like keep that in mind when the earnings comes out and they start factoring in that data. But yeah, Rocket Lab at 60 is attractive. SpaceX at 80, it's starting to get more interesting, but it's still a long ways away from that 800 billion valuation that I would be really interested at.
SpaceX at 60 or Rocket Lab at 60? It's like half off
It's about
where it is right now.
Yeah, it's about as attractive, I would say, at that point.
SpaceX is right now 1.5 trillion. At 60, there would be about 750 billion market cap.
Yeah,
About
I'd have to buy it
back in
there.
December.
I would say SpaceX. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a number between 60 and 80 where Roy would buy SpaceX.
What about for you? SpaceX, let's say, well, 80 or 60, and you can answer either or both, and Rocket Lab at 60. Which do you prefer?
I mean, look, I do want to buy Rocket Lab right now. SpaceX at 80, I probably wouldn't be like, it would be like, oh, wow, let me add this to a short list, but I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I need to pull the trigger on this right now. So
what about Virgin Galactic at $2.56?
They can give me Virgin Galactic for free and I wouldn't own it.
That's one of those. We had a pick in the draft where we gave somebody like a stinker pick. I'm surprised nobody gave somebody else Virgin Galactic.
Yeah, honestly. Any concerns about Trump's latest tariffs? 50% tariffs on some Canadian products. Do you guys ever use stop losses? Go ahead.
I think stop losses, at least for me, are when I'm trading, and so if it's like a shorter term swing trade, I might. But usually that's not the case, and I tend to not trade like in the short term, whether it's day trading, which I try to avoid usually, unless there's, hey, I'm going to be in this a while, and it goes up 40% in that day. It's not a while, it's one day. But yeah, very selectively. Usually I'm just a buy and hold type investor unless the thesis changes. Right. And no concerns on the Trump tariff stuff. It's Trump. We love tacos.
Yeah, no concerns on the Trump tariff stuff. I think it's posturing, and like Trump is like that kid man who like always needs something to preoccupy himself with, and like he always needs like a toy essentially. And sometimes it's Iran, sometimes it's Venezuela, sometimes it's the war with Ukraine and Russia, sometimes it's Canada, sometimes it's Spain. I mean, he recently got on a bandwagon of Spain. Sometimes it's Cuba, but it's never nothing, okay? It's always something. And he just needs it to like, I feel like he's bored in his job. He just needs to like stir shit.
Well, it's deflection, and then popularists as far as politics tend to have something to focus on as like, this is bad and this is the enemy and this is what we should be concerned about. He's just copying that playbook.
Yeah, I am looking at puts on SpaceX right now, or on Rocket Lab right now.
You're gonna do it, aren't you?
Oh, they look nice. They look nice.
They're insanely nice, especially through earnings. Like it just.
Oh, Rocket Lab finished up today? Hmm.
I don't think
All
so.
right, that's it. I'm not buying it. It's up 0.7%. I'm not gonna do it.
It
Yeah,
did? Okay. With the after hours?
I don't know.
Must have been with the after hours.
Rocket Lab. Oh no, it was down. What is this saying?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's down.
maybe. Oh, it's after hours. It's after hours. Yeah. No, never mind. Dude. Okay, so I'm looking at August 21, which is 32 days out. $60 puts are about $5 in premium
Yeah.
for a month
Yeah, the
out.
premiums are juicy.
Oh wow. For $60 puts, dude, that looks pretty good to me. That looks compelling. That looks compelling. And like if I don't get hit on it, then I just keep, I guess, like 8%, 9%.
Yeah.
I don't know. I gotta think about it. I gotta think about it. Maybe I'll do $65 puts and I get 750 on those. Buddy. Like I was gonna buy it anyways. Why would I not? You know.
Oh, the reason to not is you don't have money here. You're doing margin. So
Semantics. Semantics, Roy. Money is a social construct thing.
all right, Michael Saylor.
Yeah. Oh man, don't get me started on Michael Saylor. Yeah, I kind of have a lot of things that are open. Actually, hold on. Hold on now. Because my Nebius puts, I have expiring on July 31st for 150 strike. So if
Ooh.
Nebius doesn't hit 150 by next week, then I have about, close to 10 puts worth of Rocket Lab collateral.
Very nice.
I say that like I have actually it's still on margin, but like
but you're not taking on new margin, so
I'm not taking on new margin. Exactly. Yeah, and then I have like, see, my fear here is just early assignment because I have July 31st Nebius 150s. I have September 18th Nebius 120s. October 16th, I have CoreWeave 90s and CoreWeave 70s for that same date. And then I have my Nebius 175s for December. Anyways, neither here nor there. I'll figure it out. I'll let you guys know.
Let's move through these questions a little more quickly.
Oh, wow. We only have 13 minutes left. What's the best price range to buy CoreWeave for 2 to 3 years?
If you're buying it for 2 or 3 years, like it's really attractive here, I think. And I would look into buying it, not financial advice, before earnings.
Yeah, I think you're looking at it. Any interest in Figma? I was considering adding on a software pump. I need to see more, honestly. I don't know if this is going to get disrupted or if this is going to be resilient. From what I'm seeing from designers on the ground, like they're using it less and less, which is not that compelling because it's the closest I can get to actual primary research. So again, back to my earlier point around no called strikes. Like I don't need to invest in Figma. I can invest in anything else that I'm higher conviction in. So right now it's on the short list, but I don't think I'm going to be pulling trigger anytime soon. I'd rather pull trigger in Figure than Figma at this point. Actually, let me add that.
Figures, yeah. You drafted Figure. I was proud of you. I was also mad at you a little bit because it was on my list a little further down. Like no one's going to draft Figure, and then you do.
I just did that to piss you off, so you shouldn't be too proud. Thoughts on Zeta?
Good company, good stock. I don't know that it's a great one, but I don't think people holding along will be upset.
Predicted price for ServiceNow shares within a year. 200. Yeah. Any thoughts there?
I'd take the under of that. I think it'll take a little bit longer for SaaS to rebound, but a year is a long time. So let me say, and this is just off the cuff, maybe 140. I think it might take longer with SaaS.
Fair. What do you think about ASTS for spaceflight? I like it.
Yeah, it's I like it a little bit less than some other names that we talked about, but and a lot of that's just due to valuation, and then I would need to research that name more. But I can see why people like it. I'll say that. And I see like the couple other space questions actually. So Tommy Jerry also asked, how would you rank ASTS, Rocket Lab, and SpaceX as a priority of investment? For myself, for current prices right here, it would be Rocket Lab. I would say ASTS and then SpaceX. SpaceX is incredible. It's just too expensive. Voyager, I would have higher and also fly than ASTS, but
yeah, I would have the same ranking. Honestly, I think Rocket Lab over ASTS. Raven says $200 for service now means the SaaS apocalypse is way over. Man, you guys underestimate how long 1 year is, right? You see how fast we get news in this cycle? 1 year is a long time. A year ago, Nebius was like under $50. I'm just saying, like things can move, and sentiment can change pretty quick. Like if ServiceNow reports earnings and goes back to 135, you bet you're gonna have analysts calling for 200 within a year. It's gonna happen.
Most of them just follow the price action. That's it.
Are we doing so at earnings? Yes, we are. Thoughts on Redwire? No, we don't.
Yeah, space name, kind of similar to Voyager. I like Voyager better, but I don't know Redwire super well. So, yeah, I think they're about the same market cap too. So, if you like Redwire, look into Voyager as well. On the surface, you'll think space name is like, I don't want to be in space. They're each doing a lot more, and each of them, I don't remember the specifics on Redwire, but they've cornered the market on some strategic resource that's in the space. For Voyager, it's the military grade black powder for the solid rocket boosters.
Is Penguin a buy here? I mean, they were my short in the draft, so I'll defer to Roy on this one.
But it's down like 5%. So is it a buy now? No, just kidding.
I think Neil took this in his portfolio, so you should talk to him.
I don't know. I don't know these guys at all, so I don't know.
What do you think about BMR and the Clarity Act? If it doesn't pass, do you think crypto would drop and stay at this level until next year? Again, a year is a long time.
Since we're in crypto winter, I think that's the main thing weighing on it, not the Clarity Act. The Clarity Act would help boost the price, but I think right now the predictions market anyways have it at a 40% chance of passing. That's probably a bit high. So I don't think it really hurts crypto names if it doesn't pass, at least not much. But yeah, a year probably BNR should be higher. We should be well past crypto winter at that point.
Agreed. Jersey Mike's IPO interest. I don't know what that is. It makes sense.
You don't know Jersey Mike's? Oh man. Yeah, they're probably the best sandwich chain out there. They're great. You don't have them in Canada?
No. Add them to the Texas list. We'll try it when I get down there.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's so many other like good local things, but yeah, no, they're great. I love them, especially the Italian. So in the relish. But no, it's an IPO, so I don't touch those. And usually, food companies I'm not investing in.
My Bloom Energy position got called away last Friday. Congratulations, Erica. I'm contemplating getting back in if it goes lower. What's your take on Bloom Energy at this time? Honestly, under $200 for Bloom Energy, it's getting more compelling. That's for sure.
I mean, like, there's a couple of concerns with delays. We talked about the Oracle news, which is one of the reasons why Bloom is down some today. And also, it's worth, even though I know you're bullish, reading and considering that Scandium short report. I don't know enough about Scandium to know. I know what bulls are saying about it as far as the sourcing of it versus not, but that's probably the biggest thing that you need to pay attention to with Bloom. So research that. If you're like, hey, they can source it elsewhere, that the China issue is not a big deal. It's probably a very good buy right here.
They have a Jersey Mike's in Union. All right, I gotta go check that out. So I'll probably check it out tomorrow.
Get the Italian, Mike's Way.
All right, Mike's Way. I'll try it out tomorrow or Thursday. Those are my office days.
Buying the Phillies. The Philly is, by the way, very good too for like a chain. So if you like Philly cheesesteaks, that's a good one.
Is that like? Oh, is that Philly cheesesteaks? Got it.
Yeah. The Italian's a cold sub, so if that's your thing, like that's my go-to. But yeah.
How are you guys feeling about AMD and their Helios rack system versus NVIDIA? They're acquiring more and more hyperscalers and their large LLM companies.
Yeah, they're doing well. Lisa Su's a great operator too, great leader. But I think Nvidia like has the highest. Like you saw it last year, right? When AMD had to sell some of themselves to secure contracts versus it was the other way around for Nvidia. Nvidia is the highest quality product. I think CUDA is the big differentiator there. There's a lot of ASICs and people coming in the space. I prefer Nvidia. I prefer the quality. No, I'm not saying AMD is junk though. They're certainly not.
Bro, they give you a free sub, no questions. They don't even ask to see your ID.
Well, no, you have an app and they give you 72 points. 72? Whatever it is for a free sub every year. I just had my birthday. They gave it to me. I haven't had it yet. So
Is buying $135 calls on ServiceNow post earnings a horrible idea? I mean, if you're buying them post earnings, then you get to see the results. So if you're
yeah,
buying them
see the
pre
results.
earnings, the whole, yeah.
And with earnings, like it's important to remember, there could be amazing news and like not just the numbers, but news in general. The market sells it off anyway. Like if that's the case, which well could happen, I mean that might look extremely good for you, or it might be the other direction.
Hmm. 5 minutes left on the stream. When will we see market open show? Honestly, man, if we both move to Greece, it's going to be a different time zone. We're going to do a market open show every day.
Yeah, in the
So
evening, right before a chess game.
that would be the dream. That would be the dream. Sitting by, balcony by the beach. It's the evening. We do a market open show, play a little game of chess, have a glass of wine, maybe go for a little swim. Dude, Europe, unbeaten. Um, all right, we answered that. Was wondering what you think of Enphase and solar now that they're focusing on both commercial and residential, that the USA energy infrastructure company, even with the rate increase.
I think they're a lot more interesting here, especially like the other factor too is we're entering midterms where it looks like Democrats will do a lot better. That's usually good with renewables. For whatever reason, the Trump administration, which should have just been pro energy, period, it was pretty anti green, and so I think that'll help. In phase rates aside, like obviously there's some solar products that aren't going to heat up. Love the pivot in the commercial market. I love the pivot into the AI specific opportunities there as well, and the market seems to love it as well because it's come off the bottom. I haven't kept up well enough with it over this last year to like know like, hey, this is a great buyer opportunity. Although I kind of wish I had taken it in the draft. Somebody else got it. It was on the list, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to go after. I think I got Nokia in that slot instead. And hindsight, should have done in face.
Have you seen the Odyssey yet? No, not yet. I'm sure I'll eventually get around to seeing it. Thoughts on Archer plus
Yeah,
minus 20% rally today?
yeah, that's off of news with Palmer Lucky's company. So yeah, but
Oh yeah,
I
uh,
don't.
Archer Angel.
Yeah, Andrew. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't say the name. Yeah, Archer. I think the leadership's actually pretty sketchy, to be honest. I maybe a year and a half ago looked into that and Joe being another of other names, and actually, there's a lot of eVTOLs out there, and I think Joby might be the highest quality as far as engineering. I know we make fun of Joby all the time, or we did in the past. Archer, the leadership, I there's something off there. I don't think I want to say too much about it. I would just say look into the leadership and execution and announcements versus reality. So yeah, if you're a shareholder though, congratulations.
Some of these comments are killing me. What would you say is your main expertise in terms of sector when it comes to investing? Tech, obviously. Yeah. I think if tech is a sector, then that's an easy pick for me at least.
Yeah, yeah. Tech, or at least some aspects of tech. Obviously, not like tech is a very big umbrella. Enterprise software is one of those that I wouldn't say I'm as an expert, as much an expert as Steve is, because he was in that on the sell side specifically for a long time, and on insurance as well. But fintech is the other one that I would add there, where not every single thing in fintech do I understand, but because of my long suffering PayPal due diligence, as well as a lot of other fintech names, it's one that I have a pretty good grasp on.
When you guys go live, I click 100%. Thank you very much for being here, John Cutler Private Suite Network. Very much appreciate that.
Great, Dave.
Yeah, exactly. That's a mouthful. Is there an AI pick and shovel play that provides a solution to these data center challenges, like clean energy solution or something? Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of energy players. Yeah, Bloom, we just talked about. T1 Energy.
Yeah, Fermi is one of those too. Like it IPO'd last year. It's the like not the data center, Energy Campus play. Rick Perry, former governor of Texas, is leading that. That's one that somebody had mentioned it actually, and I was preparing for the draft. And I'm like, what names should I be interested in that are like further down the list? And Fermi was one of those where I need to spend a lot more time. But there's a lot of ones like that. Some that are small, some that are well known though now, like Bloom Energy, T1, and so forth.
Yeah.
Viavi, Vertiv, yeah.
Do you have additional info about BMNR buying back their stock? Yeah, we talked about this before or at the very start of the Q&A. Any thoughts on Authentic Brands' future IPO? Drake potentially selling 50% in OVO. I don't know what any of those words mean.
Drake is a musician, so.
Our boomer is showing. We're like, Drake?
Yeah.
Okay, what is this? Is this a ticker? Yeah, I'm assuming OVO is owned by Authentic Brands, and it's gonna. I don't know.
I don't know anything about this. Sorry, Jeff.
I'm not really a Drake stan, so I'm gonna stay away from this one personally. I got the show late. Did you guys talk crypto? When do you guys potentially start buying again? Roy, this is all you.
Yeah, I think Q4 is when we'll see the end of the crypto winter. Could be slightly before as well. September seasonality is still a thing. Midterm elections is still a thing. So I talked about like late summer, which for me would be like late August, early September. Now, the reality is with these other names like CoreWeave that have been sold off, I think unfairly by the market, I'd probably continue to buy like CoreWeave at this range. We've talked about space names and stuff too. So, but in isolation, like if all the other stuff was still intact and crypto was where it is, in August, September, I would start adding that. The other thing is, even when crypto winter has been resolved and we start moving back up, it doesn't move up just in a straight line immediately and instantly. Usually, actually, the best move is a little bit later into the spring. And so, yeah, I would like to add, but I can't own everything. So,
yeah, that's fair. Also, your Amcor question did not get skipped. Roy fully answered that. You just have to rewind. Am I gonna sew a star on the Spain jersey? No, bro. This is a sign of authenticity now. I'm a pre-2026 fan. Where is SoFi heading? Maybe be acquired? Maybe.
I would be surprised at this point, but I mean, there's always a possibility. I just think it's very low. Through the end of the year, there's uncertainty with rate cuts. We've talked about that. Execution is very, very good. So I think once Hormuz situation is actually resolved, there's going to be more certainty as far as rate cuts versus rate hikes. And right now the market is, I think, pricing in too much on the hike side. So that could be good for SoFi.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm laughing at some of these comments. Do you pay interest on margin held as collateral? No, like I don't have. I don't think you pay interest on margin held as collateral. I could be wrong in that, but I'm pretty sure you don't.
At least on my platform, you do.
Oh, well, if I am paying interest, I'm definitely not noticing it because it's fairly minor. Dude, I looked at my my statement from Interactive Brokers like when I did my taxes, and there was like $5,000 or something in interest, or $4,000 in interest. And I was like, oh my God, did I pay this? And turns out they paid me because I was holding my cash as collateral for like cash secured puts back when I wasn't writing on margin. And I was like, what the heck? They pay me? Yeah. Anyways. So apparently you don't on Interactive Brokers. But.
Okay. Schnee97 said you don't on Hood either. So yeah, I mean, I don't use margin enough, so maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, no interest on Wealthsimple either on margin unless you get called. Yeah, so
Interesting.
I think that you don't. Does Roy ever have a plan to add this NVIDIA Leap or just stick with
Yeah, I mean, like I would love to, but yeah, CoreWeave right here, just being at this ridiculous price, I just want to add more CoreWeave. So, but yes, I would love to add more to the NVIDIA Leap, make it plural. Out of money, so I have to sell something, and right now, I like what I'm holding.
Yeah.
Or go on margin, and I'd rather not.
Yep. Tevis, have you traveled to Brazil? I think you'd like it here, maybe even more than Greece. I haven't. I went on my way to Argentina. I just stopped at the airport, which doesn't count. I would love to go to Brazil. It's on the list for some point in the future, but yeah, as of right now, I have not been to Brazil. I think I would like it too. When Bootleg weekly official meetup? That's a great question.
Yeah, we need to think about that next year.
Yeah, next year, 2027 meetup, Greece meetup.
All right, yeah.
How much are you guys up year to date?
I didn't check today, but it's not a great year for me. It's my second worst in individual investing. It's around the S&P 500 gain. So today I was up, so probably a little bit over. But even though air was down, well, it faded a lot too. I don't know, but yeah, around the S&P 500 gains, which would be my second worst year. We'll see.
I have like different holdings in different portfolios. One of the portfolios, which is like the long term, like the tax haven ones, that one is underperforming. It's up like 11%. But the big portfolio, like the main one, is up about 48% year to date. So that's outperforming. So I'm happy about that because like the other ones are smaller, and then this one's like the biggest one. Roy, can we get a deep dive on CoreWeave?
Yeah, I probably should do a deep dive at some point because I have like the 10-minute type of videos, but there's enough there where I could do that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Probably post earnings just because there's going to be so much earnings news, but I like that idea. Let me actually write it down.
Hey Roy, I have to choose between Google and QQQ. Which one should I choose? Let me remind you guys that we are not financial advisors and this is not financial advice. So Roy can't help you in this one.
Yeah, it just depends what your convictions are and your risk. If not as much risk and not a specific conviction in Google, go ETF. If you're like really bullish on Google and not so much on the Nasdaq in general, why not go Google?
Yeah, Roy still uses pen and paper. The man's
It's
classics never die, man. I don't know what to tell you.
it's a Palantir journal, so that has to count as something.
That's something, all right. Yeah, these guys are entertainment only. CoreWeave seems to be Roy's favorite right now. Tevis, what's yours? I mean, considering Nevis is my largest position, let's go with that. But
Well, I think he means as far as a buy, maybe. Like what are you buying right now? That
there's
you're
no
just
way
like, oh, man, I can
CoreWeave
get
is
it
your
now?
favorite buy right now. In the entire CoreWeave is your favorite buy in the entire market right now?
Yes.
I mean, it's up there for sure. I think it's a contender. I think I mean, look, I have to talk about what I have been buying. ServiceNow, I would say, is like the main thing I've been buying. Ask me again in 2 days after they report earnings, because if they tank, then I'll change my opinion. But I'm really liking it right now. I think that the market is not seeing it, and hopefully, I'm proven right in 48 hours. But if not, then yeah, then I'm not going to be buying more ServiceNow. All right, the doctor has spoken, and with that, I think we're going to wrap up there. Roy, what do you think?
Yeah, sounds good. As a reminder, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we are doing Data Center Monthly. And so if you did not get enough of our earlier data center talk, there was a few things that we left. Actually, quite a bit of news. It's like an insane month. We almost need to do it the big format weekly, but I do that weekly. But join us tomorrow live if you'd like to, if you're interested in that 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Nate, myself, and Tevis will be our guests, and we're going to talk a lot about it. We'll also take some questions at the end as well. And we, of course, will be back on Friday for Fiesta Fridays.
Yeah, and now Roy and I have some chess to play, as we often do after these streams. So thank you so much. See you tomorrow at Data Center Monthly. Also, Wednesday, we're going to be live streaming ServiceNow earnings if I don't get any meetings put on my calendar at 4 p.m. What's our rating?
Yeah, I'm still shaking off the rest. I'm a little under 1,000. I'm like 950 or something like that. But yeah, I think if I continue to practice and play, like, it had been decades since I played, so super rusty. People are better than I remember them too, but I could probably get up to like 12 or 1,300. I don't know that I can get to Tevis's level.
I mean, eventually we can play on stream, but we had rated R for Roy. We had three good games the other night after the draft. Was it after the draft? I think, or after.
Yeah. Well, you were giving me a piece though. You were giving me the queen, and I would still lose. So yeah, Tevis is you're over 1,500. You're like 1,700 or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. Like it's still fun, you know. I don't know. Like, anyways, with that, we will stop rambling and $2. The Jozen one by Iren. Thank you.
You should use that money right there and buy Iren with it.
$2. I can buy like a tenth of a share.
Tevis is very good at chess, guys. He's very intelligent. People don't give him enough credit for that. So,
thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks all. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.